Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. In this video, we are talking about reflections of graphs. We're going to be talking about flipping them, the rules, x-axis, y-axis, things like that. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So for the reflections, let's say we have a reflection like this. You need to know what is your x-axis, what is your y-axis. So in this case, this is our x-axis. And you can see that it kind of looks like I just flipped it. So what happens with the reflection across certain things is that you kind of have a mirror image or you flip it. So if you have, for example, two jumps, let's say they have a point right here. That means that I have 1, 2, 3 jumps to that point. So that means I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 jumps to that point there. So when you are reflecting something, the line that you are reflecting it over is kind of like your line of symmetry. So let's talk about our rules. So for reflections, we have our original point going to x comma negative y. And again, the negative, think opposite. For the reflection over the y-axis, you have x comma y going to a opposite of x comma y. Over the line of x equals y, we'll talk about that line there. That is, your original point is going to y comma x. And notice how your x and y switch, so be careful. And then for the last one through the origin, you're having x comma y going to an opposite of an x and an opposite of the y value. So let me get another color here just to make sure that you know that this here means switch x and y position. And your negatives that you see, they're not really negative. These just means take the opposite. So we're going to take an opposite here. We're going to take an opposite here. That means take the opposite. So here's an example of a reflection over the x-axis. If we go here, here's an example of a reflection across the y-axis. So again, if we have a point here, and that's 1, 2 jumps from the y-axis, that means I'm going to need a point here, 1, 2 jumps from the y-axis. It's the line of symmetry. Here is an example of your line of y equals x. And same thing, point of symmetry or line of symmetry. If I have 1 jump from my line of symmetry, my reflection here, then I'm going to have 1 jump here. And this one here is about the origin. So this is reflection across y equals x, and this is a reflection through the origin. Alrighty, let's go ahead and jump to some examples. So example here, it is say example number 5, but that is our first example. You guys can barely see this. Let me zoom this in. There it is. This is asking you for a reflection across the y-axis. So I have my rules in front of me. So here are my rules. We want a reflection across the y-axis. I'm going to show you 2 different ways of doing it. Here is your y-axis. And I'm going to show you in this example to use the rule. And then in the next example, I'm going to show you how to cheat a little bit. So to use the rule, we're going to do the table. Here's our original. Here's our new points. And here's our rule. Now looking at my cheat sheet, what is my cheat sheet? Here it is. I want y-axis, so that means this is my rule. I'm having my original point go to the opposite of my x, comma, y. So again, whenever you see negatives, it's not a negative, it means opposite. So let's find out what our original points are. I have an F, I have a G, and I have an E. My F is located at 1, 2, 3, 1. My G is located at 1, 2, 3. Oh, just kidding. My G is located at 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And my E is located at 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Now that I have my original points, let's go ahead and apply the rule. So what's happening is you're taking your original points. You don't have to write the original points if you don't want to, because we already have them written down. They're going to, and I'll do this one time, opposite of your x value, comma, y. So what you're doing here, this is going to be your x value, this is going to be your y value, but the negative represents the opposite. So what is your x value? Let's label these. So your x value is 3, your y value is 1. Again, the opposite, this means opposite of your x value, comma, y value. Opposite of your x value, comma, y value. Again, the negative means opposite, does not mean negative. So what is your x value here? Your x value is 2. Your y value is negative 4. X value is 4. My y value is negative 4. So what are our new points? Let's shift this over. Let's first write our new letters. So I have F prime, G prime, and E prime. I have an opposite of 3, which is a negative 3, comma 1. I have the opposite of 2, which is negative 2, comma negative 4. I have the opposite of 4, which is a negative 4. Here are my new points. Let's graph them. I'm going to shift this over. Negative 3, 1 is F prime. So negative 3, 1, 2, 3, comma 1. That's F prime. I have negative 2, negative 4. So negative 2, 1, 2. Negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is my G prime. And I have E prime at negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And negative 4, which is my E prime here. Connect the dots. What you're going to notice that with a reflection, the shape and the size does not change, just the location. So this is an example of how to use a rule to find your reflection. Here's where I'm going to give you a chance to cheat a little bit. This method, I repeat, this only method works if you are crossing the y or the x-axis. If you have any other type of reflection, this doesn't work. This only works if it's x or y. You're going to count. Let's go back here to the very first one. I have a reflection across the y-axis. Remember how I said here, it matters how many jumps you have. So if this is 3 jumps above the line of reflection, this is 3 jumps below the line of reflection. So here's my line of reflection, and I'm going to count jumps. So I have 1, 2, 3 jumps. So that means for my image, so this is pre-image, for my image, it's also going to be 1, 2, 3 jumps. So if my E value here is 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps, then my E prime also has to be 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps from your reflection line. Now let's do that here as well. So let's use U. U is 1, 2 jumps from your line of reflection. So that means U prime is 1, 2 jumps from your line of reflection. Let's do another one. T is 1, 2, 3 jumps from your line of reflection. So T prime is going to be 1, 2, 3 jumps from your line of reflection. W is 2 jumps from your line of reflection. So that means W prime is 1, 2 jumps from your line of reflection. Now the only one we have to worry about is that V. Now V is on the line of reflection. So how many jumps do we have to do to get to that line? Well, it's already on the line, so there's no jump. So V and V prime, let me change colors here, are the exact point. Nothing really changes. So then we connect. Connect my points. And there you have your pre-image and your image without having to use a rule. Again, this only works, counting, only works for reflections across X and Y axis. Otherwise, you have to use the rules, and the rules are here. You have to use the rules. This one here, let's do one more example. Let's use the counting. This is the x-axis, reflection across the x-axis. Here is our x-axis, and you have to count. Just count how many jumps from your line of reflection. Let's do I. So I is 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. So that means I prime is 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. Here's I prime. Next I have G, and G is 1, 2. So 1, 2 is my G prime. Then I have my H. H is, now notice H is going the opposite direction. Like all of these were below the x-axis line. This is above. It doesn't matter. We just count jumps. So 1 jump towards the x-axis, 1 jump here. So this is going to be my H prime. So how does the line, I'm actually going to even get a different marker. So how does my reflection look like? How does my image look like? Here it is. So there's some overlap, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter. So you have your pre-image and you have your image with the reflection across the x-axis. So use the rule and use counting if you have a reflection across the x or y axis. All right, beautiful people, that is it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.